So I'd love to see the overlap between people who believe in the paranormal and have paranormal events happen to them compared to people
Mm.
who do not believe in the paranormal but still have paranormal events happen to them. And I think there's a bit of a cross section there of certain subjects that when you bring them up, more people often than not will go, "Oh, you know what? Actually something did happen to me one time." So maybe they're like more
Do those people
likely to
exist?
happen.
Well, people that had something paranormal happen to them, but they don't believe in the paranormal.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you kidding me? Yeah, because they'll try and explain it away, or people
Oh.
who they'll count it off as lucid dreaming or entering some type of state where they're hallucinating. But one of the subjects that when you bring up to people, they think back and say, maybe something might have happened to me before, and it could be wishful thinking. Maybe it was in my case. And that subject is the succubus. So before I keep moving on this one, Tyson, have you ever had an experience with a succubus? You don't need to tell the story. We'll save that for later. Just a yes or a no, or a maybe. I'll even take that right now.
Um. So succubus, they're only supposed to appear in someone's dreams. Is that correct?
I don't think so. I think they are supposed to manifest themselves somewhere between the physical and ethereal world. I don't think they're actually in your mind, in your dreams, but I think it's open to interpretation.
Yeah, I've only had uh succubus esque events happen to me in the dream world.
It's just suspicious succubus events happening to my command. Okay, good. Yeah, I like that answer. So I'll move with my story in a second, but I kind of like to ask people that because a lot of people have a different idea of what a succubus is, especially their level of perceived attractiveness. And as they get further into the act, they may get uglier and uglier, maybe look a bit more vulture and stork like, maybe. But to shorten it, we'll get historical too. The succubus is historically dating back quite a long time ago to the Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism, and then kind of transformed over time to mean a bunch of different things across various cultures. And whether that was the actual inception point, I don't know. But the idea of a succubus, which is a creature of some sorts, draining the life essence of a male. Some perceive that to be semen or their sexual life force. This idea may have come from Lilith, which is a biblical adjacent character that was meant to be one of Adam's other wives. Either I think he was his wife before Eve, and or even after that, it may have been after the
Wait,
fall.
she's
Who
real?
knows?
Lilith is real?
Well, if you watch, what was she in? True Blood. Yes, she is
Oh.
real. No, if you want to talk about, let's say, non-canon potential entries into the Old Testament, Lilith is mentioned. And a lot of people speculate that these old Kabbalistic entries are more satirical takes, disfigurements of
Okay.
real Christian Old Testament stories, which is something to think about. So there's deception within itself there. So Lilith was supposedly alongside a bunch of other fallen type of creatures, demons, some would say, characters that tempted a certain archangel. And at one point, Lilith tempted Adam themselves and tried to drain their life force of their sexual energy and steal their potency and use it for their own will. I don't know if it's like another creation, a deformed life that they want to make out of it, but that's kind of like going, that who knows if that was the actual beginnings of what goes into thoughts behind a succubus or what we believe them to be. But I thought that was interesting because it seemed like time was a little silent about it until historically you get around the medieval ages, and it seems like there were some alternative interpretations of what a succubus might be. That's of course when people start talking about incubus, but we'll leave those alone for now. And it must have had some staying power in history because people may have seen this or seen what they imagined to be this. And something I always wondered, and maybe you've heard this before. Do you know what old hag syndrome is? It's more of an Eastern it's more of an Eastern
When a
concept.
woman gets past the age of 25? Is that what it is?
I was like, he could be careful and say 35 as a joke, but instead you go straight for 25, which is great. No, old hag syndrome, I always understood it to be you know how there's random Korean or Japanese folklore ghost legends? I think an old hag is one of them. And if you see like an old hag woman at the end of your bed, then you don't have much time to live and you have to say something. I have no idea what it is to save your own life or not be frightened by it or pretend you don't see it. But you'll see different ideas of this across various cultures, which leads me to believe there's some merit to what's going on. So I'll tell the story of when I believe I had a succubus experience. But first, I'll just say, typical tenets of it is you're having a dream. Your dream may or may not be turning sexual. As you feel yourself coming awake, you may see the outline of a person over you on your bed, engaging in a sexual act with you. And while they're doing that, it looks like it's a beautiful girl. And you're still kind of stuck between this dream realm where you're, as a man, tempted to have sex with a beautiful woman and when you're slowly waking up and in that lucid dream state and maybe undergoing sleep paralysis, which is another symptom of old hag syndrome, that might be where it originated from, and you see a woman on top of you going at it. So for some guys, you would think, hey, sounds like a good deal to me. You're like, where's this get bad?
Honestly, I'm sold. How can
sold.
I?
He's opening. Look, I won't teach you how to do. I don't know any, but maybe just us talking about it will be a good incidental summoning ritual for you tonight, Tyson. It sounds like you're open to it. But as you're seeing them on top of you, they're supposed to transform to these ugly vulture like creatures. Yeah. And then obviously they're doing that as they're not going to do that while you're erect. They do that as you're finishing up because there's nothing you can do about it while you're releasing.
Wait. Oh, okay. Wait, so they only do it after I'm done, right?
That's my guess.
I mean, okay, then that's not really an issue, right?
Not when you're done, as you're dunning. Let's say.
That's
it's a little jarring, right?
Okay, well maybe the strategy is before you're about to be done, you just close your eyes so you can't see the transformation, right?
You have a metaphysical brown paper bag you put over its head. There you go. That would be amazing. So I'll just say what's happened to me was comparative to that. I remember I had a small one-bedroom apartment, in the city, and there was one night, it was raining outside. I fell asleep, and I hadn't done any drinking. I think it was a weeknight. I was behaving myself, and I went to bed, and I started having a pretty sexual dream. And the setting of that dream wasn't in my bedroom. It didn't start in my bedroom. And it actually might have started with a girl in the dream who may have been blonde from what I can recall, maybe had like ash red hair or something like that. And this person came on to me in my dream. And I was like, wow, this is all right. I could get on board with this dream, me. And again, I didn't know I was dreaming at this point. So as I was engaging in dream sex with this girl, I was starting to realize as it was going on that I was in a dream. It's so funny. It's like, I'm having intercourse. This must be a dream, right? There we go. So yeah, I started to wake up from it and kind of pull myself into the physical realm. And as I was doing that, I had sleep paralysis, and I saw on top of me this same woman going at it on me. Okay. And as she was doing that, I could see my room behind her. I was back in my normal real world room. And the kind of feeling where you can't quite place where you are. You're not fully awake yet. Everyone's stuck in that strange lucid state when they're almost there, but can feel themselves becoming awake. And you see some strange stuff that's always open to interpretation. I saw her on my bed on top of me, and I kind of retracted a little bit, but by then I was so far along that this was before the dream was really done. I was almost finishing up, and as that was happening, this person, I didn't see a vulture. I saw an emaciated, bald, like skeleton faced woman with spare gray hairs falling down her face on top of me. It was really disgusting. It was brutal, and it was to a T.
And that happened
with a lot
after
of
you were you were done, or what?
No, by the time I was done, I was fully awake. But there was some finishing there between the dream world and the real world, and when she
And
was
that was when they
awake.
transformed, right?
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
So the one thing I want everyone, I don't want people to take too much away from this story. I'm not sure how much it says about me, but the one feeling, and this feeling followed me for 2 days, maybe 3. And I described it to one of my friends where we talk about paranormal stuff all the time. We grew up watching ghost shows together. I felt absolutely drained for 2 to 3 days, not only sexually, but physically. I was slow moving,
Mm.
slow thinking. I was tired. I felt like my movements and speech were stuttered. I wasn't in full control of myself because I was just so bereft of energy. And it was because of what happened. It wasn't the normal feeling you have after, let's just say having sex with a real girl, where you're there's a part of you, there's a little euphoria, part of it is kind of a release. This was no, I felt like I got milked like a cow, like it's udder or something like that. I felt like I don't want to say it, but let's just the R word, that ends with the D. I felt like I was that, so I felt like violated. So I was I was absolutely decimated from this happening, and it felt a bit violating. And this wasn't kind of how you feel after a normal dream where you may have, done something with a girl and wake up and be like, "Oh, that was a little strange." And then you go about your day. This was lasting into the physical realm, into my normal life. I could still feel the ramifications of what happened to me. And
Mm.
honestly, because of that, I can't help but feel, and I like to believe in a lot of things that come my way. So I have no problem saying this. Because of what happened, honestly, there's a part of me that thinks a succubus does exist, especially since there's historicity to the claim of them, being there, or maybe men are making them up to tell their wives they didn't cheat on them. Like, I don't know. It was the ghosts, not, our neighbor. I don't really know how to explain it other than that. But
You know what I
to
was
me,
thinking? You
yeah,
know, like how previously we described, in previous episodes, we described morphic resonance and like this potential field of consciousness. Maybe succubuses are entities that exist purely in this consciousness field. You know, they go around and siphon energy, but only in this sort of like limbo between the waking world and reality world, where they can enter your subconscious. Maybe that's how
I
it works.
I think that's a really good point. And maybe if you're having some sort of resonance, like you said, morphic resonance, if you're giving out a frequency that you're open to something like that, I wasn't exactly single and looking to mingle with extra dimensional creatures, but I have an open mind when it comes to the paranormal. Obviously, maybe that made me more susceptible to what was going on. But I just the one thing I want you and everyone to take away from this, if you're not too grossed out, I felt overall that I was violated and drained of all energy for days at a time. So when they talk about stealing your sexual potency, your male energy, and claiming it for themselves, I I believe that. I feel that, So that's my story. I know you mentioned you might have something, Tyson. So what do you think? What do you think of the succubus
I think it's
question?
interesting. It's just gonna be so dumb, but is it cheating if it's from a different dimension? You know, surely it's not,
I
right?
would have felt like I was cheating if I were dating someone when that happened. I mean, that felt like I literally engaged in, like, there was a very small part of me that was sexually satisfied, amazingly. So it's there. So yeah, is that cheating? That's a good paranormal moral quandary there.
I'll just say this. You know, I used to be someone that, upon hearing Moyer's story, would have been like, "Oh, that seems really fucking cool. I want that." But then, after hearing the transformation story about how they transform as you're about to arrive,
There
um,
you go.
even if you exclude that, I read this manga that depicted this guy going to two succubuses, and he was just so drained, and he was like mind he was mine are worded, to the point where he was only a creature that craved release from these creatures. So it really opened my eyes to see how these succubuses, they're not your friend, and they're not
They're not your
something
friend.
to
No,
they're,
they're
they're,
not.
they're not like a woman you can conquer. They're actively evil beings
They're
that
conquering you.
yeah, there is evil, and it's not cool to engage with them in any way. So yeah.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of when you're dating someone and they'll have a dream that you cheated on them and they'll be mad at you for the rest of the next day. And it's like, I didn't do anything. It's like, no, I had a dream that you cheated on me though. So I was mad at you. So maybe that's some sort of feminine influence left over from an otherworldly succubus. You never know. But
Mm.
I mean, historically, I don't see how you would be able to record something like this, especially since that line between, and I don't know how we'll define this, like the paranormal event horizon between this is in your head, it is a dream, it's not physically happening, to you are physically awake, entirely lucid, and you are in the real world. The space between those two, I think, is such an exposure level to maybe what you said, otherworldly entities, that you kind of have to be open to it, because the things I've seen out of the corner, the things you see waking up are always the strangest. And a lot of times you can chalk them off. I remember one time I woke up and I saw Optimus Prime at the foot of my bed. So that's when I knew I was experiencing sleep paralysis
Did you also
induced
have sex with
hallucination.
him? Did he transform as you were about to?
Slowly. Hey, there you go. Right, the transform. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, maybe that would have been enjoyable. I don't know, but what I was meaning to say was a little derailing there.
Optimus.
I'm gonna when that happened to me, I knew it was a hallucination, a dream
Mm.
sleep hallucination. But when this happened to me, the physical long-term effect that resulted from it lasted for such a long while, and really hit me in such a way I wasn't expecting. I gotta give some credence to it. So yeah, what happened? Didn't you say something may have happened to you, or was it just in the dream realm there?
Uh, Something sort of that happened, but I didn't have sex with the entity. But what
You
happened
made a good
was,
choice.
trust me, they weren't a looker, this one. But basically,
They can't even make them hot in your dreams.
yeah, basically, I was asleep and I was dreaming. I was doing some weird shit, and then I woke up, or I thought I woke up. Everything was exactly the way it was in my room, except there was this guy that was standing in the corner of my room, but I couldn't see his face because he was facing away from me. He was facing into the corner,
That's terrifying.
and I was like, okay, well, this looks like reality, um, but obviously this guy's in my fucking room and he's standing in the corner. That wouldn't happen in real life, would it? So I was like slapping myself in the dream, like, wake up, wake the fuck up, and then I woke up, and I woke up in my
Mm.
room and it looked exactly the same, and there was no guy in the corner. So I thought, oh, okay, I actually did wake up. So got out of bed, did my whole daily routine, brushed my teeth and all that. And when I got to the kitchen, the guy was there and he was standing in the corner as well.
So you were still dreaming, maybe?
I was still dreaming, and I'm like,
Mm.
wait, this isn't reality. So I started spazzing out at that point. I was like, okay, I was punching myself. I was like, wake the fuck up, wake the fuck up, And then it happened again, and and the same thing happened again. I woke up in my bed. Everything looks literally exactly the way it did. I did my whole daily routine, and I looked around the entire house for the guy in the corner, but it wasn't there. Then I had to
Mm.
go somewhere to do some groceries. And when I got to the supermarket, there was the guy. So I was still
What?
dreaming.
You saw him? Oh, you were still
Yeah.
dreaming. Okay.
So this is like three fucking layers of dreaming where the world looks exactly the same. That
Such an obnoxious
the way it
Hollywood
was.
trope too.
Yeah, I know,
But he
right?
was
How
he was dream.
cliched.
I have a good friend that who saw a plane in his dream outside his window 5 times. He got sleep faked sleep dream faked 5 times, and then when he finally did wake up, he saw that plane in the sky in real
Really?
life. Yeah, so it's almost a premonition. So I don't know if you maybe be wishful about having a succubus premonition there,
But
but I
yeah,
don't think you can handle that heat.
after those 3 layers, I woke up for real. But then for like a day or two after, I couldn't trust that what I saw was reality, because there was this fucking eerie feeling that around the corner I'd see the same guy, and I realized, oh, I'm still in the dream world.
Yeah, some leftover impact there. I'm sure
Maybe
we'll
I
talk
should have
about
had
another
sex with
time.
him to to get the whole thing.
That's how you wake yourself up. There you go. That would that's you taking control of the situation. That would be an incubus too. And he's like, "Wait, no, hold on. I was looking for a woman." It's like, too bad, and just let her rip. So that's good stuff. All right, and then on a gentle note there. So thanks for joining us on the Scary Door, everyone. And until next time, look out for that succubus at the foot of your bed.